Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this broadcast. If this is your first time that you are meeting me, I'd like to welcome you to this video. My name is Sonia Keeve, and I am the CEO and founder of Sisters with a Voice podcast network. And I help entrepreneurs to get unstuck from thinking about starting a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing their podcast in just 30 days. So, whether you catch this live, of course, I would absolutely love to welcome you here today. Definitely drop in the comments where you are tuning in from because I always love to connect with my audience. And should you catch this in a replay, absolutely put your information in the comments as well so that I could chat with you later. And so today we are talking about the 4 P's of podcasting. If you've been in business or been in school and took a marketing class, you probably heard about the 4 P's of marketing. And do you remember what they are? Well, let me just refresh your memory. So, the 4 P's of marketing in business are product, place, price, and promotion. Let me repeat that. It's product, place, price, and promotion are the 4 P's in marketing. And we're all familiar with those terms. And if you're not, you're going to get a lesson here today. And so, as we think about your business, if you are in business, whether you are a dualpreneur where you still work a corporate job and you're building your business on the side, or if you're a full time entrepreneur, I am here to share with you why starting a podcast is necessary for your business to grow and scale in 2023. And so this is so important because many people that I come across and talk with, a lot of times they don't even realize that they even need to have a podcast. And I'm here to share with you that having your own podcast is not something that's a fad because there is a misconception that, well, everybody seems to be starting a podcast. So there's going to come a time where this is not going to be the medium which you can get your content out in the world. And I'm here to share with you that absolutely podcasting is going to continue to grow by leaps and bounds. I launched my very own podcast show back in 2018. It's entitled Inspiring Nations with Sonia Keeve. So wherever you get your podcast shows, wherever you download them, type in Inspiring Nations with Sonia Keeve. It's a purple and white globe is the backdrop. So I definitely want you to tune in, subscribe, like, and leave a 5-star review. So let's get into this topic of the 4 P's of podcasting. So when I got into podcasting in 2018, I specifically launched my podcast, Inspiring Nations, because I really wanted to give women a platform where they could share their stories of how they inspire others every single day. And from that experience, I found it really helped me to create my very own business, which is entitled Sisters with a Voice Podcast Network. And as you think about the 4 P's of marketing, which again are product, place, price, and promotion, I want to discuss what are the 4 P's to consider when starting a podcast. And the first P that I really want to talk about is positioning. As a podcast host, when you create your own podcast show, your podcast show is going to position you as the host of the show as the expert. You have the expertise. You have created a niche for the clients that you want to serve or for the clients that you want to work with. And so your podcast show and the content that you create for the podcast show, when you share what you know, how you help the people that you want to work with, or how you want to help the people that you most desire to serve, it positions you as the expert. Because when someone is tuning into a podcast show, They are tuning into a podcast to do one of a couple of things, really. They're tuning in to be entertained, they're tuning in to be informed, to be educated, or to be inspired. And how, whatever industry which you serve, the content that you create for the show, you are delivering that content. So you are being positioned as the expert. So when I meet entrepreneurs, you know how we do. We get in networking circles, and what do we do when we first meet someone? We ask them their name, what they do, and how they serve, right? Well, think of your podcast as creating this networking space where you are now positioned as the expert. So, whatever industry that is, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's business, whether it's marketing, whether it's coaching, consulting, whatever industry you serve, you are going to be positioned as the expert. That's the first thing a podcast is going to do. It's going to position you, and not only position you as the expert, but then it's going to, the second P, place. It's going to allow you to have your broadcast, your podcast, to be heard globally. When you create a podcast, you could be right in the confines of your own home, but your message will be downloaded and heard globally. So imagine going around the world and meeting people that have tuned into your podcast. I know that has happened for me, and it's exciting because as a podcaster, many times, many of us are in our homes when we're recording our podcast shows. And so many times it's just you and the camera, and you're just speaking and sharing your expertise. But you never really know the impact your message and how far it's reaching. So imagine, as you are positioned as the expert, you share a few tips, resources to help that listener who's tuning in that could potentially be your very next paid client. You have helped them to take the next step, and they're halfway around the world. That is the power of what a podcast can do. Thirdly, the third P of what it can do is getting into this industry of podcasting. It's minimum investment. Many times people don't end up launching a podcast because they think it takes a whole lot of money to get started. Right now, wherever you are, if you're listening to this broadcast, if you have a laptop, you can start a podcast. Yes, there are some investments you want to make later down the line as you grow in this industry. But if you have a desire, like when I started in 2018, I was just super excited with this idea of inspiring women around the world. And I didn't have to have fancy equipment because I was connecting to the people that I wanted to serve globally, and I did it with my laptop. Most laptops have pretty good speakers, and there's a webcam. So you can just use your webcam on your laptop and the speakers, record your podcast. So to get into this industry, it's a minimum investment. And then lastly, as a product, your podcast is an amazing tool to not only allow you to position yourself as the expert, to allow you to have your message to be globally heard around the world. Getting started is minimum investment, and all it took was for you to just open your mouth, share your expertise, and change someone's life. This is why the power of podcasting is so beneficial to help you to grow and scale your business. And so if you catch this in a replay, we're talking about why you need to create and start your own podcast to help grow and scale your business. Think of this podcast, your podcast, as a new marketing tool to help you to connect to the clients that you want to serve, to help get the visibility that you're looking for, to establish you as a credible leader in the industry that you serve so that you can convert leads to paid clients. Podcasting does that. And the 4 P's of podcasting are: number one, positioning. It's going to position you as the expert. Number two, you can get started from minimum effort, minimum investment. It takes effort, but it doesn't take a whole lot of an investment to get started. Number three, it's going to allow your message to be heard globally around the world. So even though you may be in your home office or in your bedroom launching your podcast, your message is going to be heard all around the world, really positioning you as an international podcaster who has a global presence, sharing your expertise, changing the lives of the people that you desire to work with and serve. And lastly, it is an amazing tool that you can get started with right now, because most people think, if I do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, is that a podcast? Think of a podcast really as pre-recorded videos that you do audibly. So even though I may interview my guest on a video format, the end result of my podcast is that it's done audibly. It's transformed into an audio format. So someone that has just meeting me for the first time and tunes into my podcast today, I may have somebody that I'll connect with a year from now. They can hear all of your messages, all of your content in real time. And it's just a push of one button of recording the content that you want and really elevating yourself as the leader in the industry in which you serve. And so if you have been thinking, you know what, I really need to take this opportunity to dive in more about how I can incorporate a podcast into my marketing mix, then I want to invite you to join my next podcast cohort. It's called Launch Your Podcast in 30 Days. And so the next podcast cohort begins on Sunday, March the 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And inside of this program, you're going to get tips, tools, resources. You're going to learn directly from me what it truly takes to launch a podcast with ease. And you get everything you need from startup to finish, where you will be launching your very own podcast in just 30 days. And so if this is something that's been on your bucket list, it's been on your vision board, and you're like, Sonia, I am ready to finally get in the game and launch my very own podcast show, I want you to email me at email me, Sonia@SoniaKeeve.com. So that's Sonia@SoniaKeeve.com for more information on how you can get registration details to join my podcast cohort. I only take 10 students. So people are signing up and the spots are going quickly. So I want to make sure that you get this information, or if you know someone who needs this information to launch their podcast, I'm telling you, yes, you could absolutely Google how to start a podcast, but what you won't get is one-on-one coaching. What you won't get is someone walking you through the process if you get stuck in one of the areas. You won't get someone that's going to help you create a marketing strategy so that when you launch with ease and no stress. I have been doing this work since 2018, and I am an international podcast host and master podcast coach. In fact, Inspiring Nations podcast show is heard in over 164 plus countries. And I learned how to do it myself, but I can tell you, there were so many times I almost gave up because I didn't have anyone to help me and walk me through the process. But that won't happen for you. You're going to get one-on-one coaching from me. And even after you launch, Even after you launch, I am still here supporting you to help you to stay into this space, because let me tell you something, podcasting ain't that complicated. But it's complicated when you don't have the right roadmap, when you don't have the right tools, and when you don't have the right experts helping you to take your game from idea to execution in less time than you think. So, as a business owner, whether you are a dualpreneur, building a business on the side, or a full time entrepreneur, and you're ready to just elevate your game, you need to enroll in this program. And I hope that you find that these 4 P's that we discussed today really help you to start to kind of think about, you know what, I need to consider starting a podcast, because I can tell you opportunities like this do not come around often. And so, when you take the chance, let go of your fears and step into the space that you were always called to be, I can show you how podcasting can open up the possibilities and so much more. Well, thank you so much for watching this broadcast. Again, my name is Sonia Keeve, and I'm the CEO and founder of Sisters with a Voice Podcast Network, helping entrepreneurs every single day to get unstuck from thinking about that podcast to building, launching, and monetizing their podcast in just 30 days. So thank you so much for watching. Share this broadcast. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day wherever you are. And remember, hashtag podcasters rock. Take care. Bye bye.